Let's now take a look at the complete results option in the Ordinal Analysis Crossed Orderings procedure. So to do so, again, we need to work with a data set that has at least 3 groups. So I'm going to continue working with this little contrived data set in which I have 2 experimental conditions and a control condition. And recall that the predicted ordinal pattern is that the control individuals will have the highest reaction times, the highest values there, followed by the first experimental individuals, and then the individuals in the second experimental condition, they'll have the lowest reaction times. So that's our expected ordinal pattern. Now with the complete results, what we're going to do is take a look at the individuals 3 at a time. So we're going to try to match this entire pattern here, not just pairwise now, but try to match the entire pattern. So for example, we can take the first individual from the first experimental group. That person scored a 7. The first individual from the control group scored a 10. The first individual from the second experimental condition scored a 6. So we have 6 is less than 7 is less than 10. That matches the expectation. Experimental 2, less than experimental 1, less than control. So that triad of individuals would be correctly classified. So that's just one triad that we can create. Another triad, the second iteration of triads here, we could take the 7 with the 10 again, the first person in those 2 groups, and then now go to the second individual in the second experimental condition, and that scores an 8. So then we try to line those up. Is 8 less than 7 less than 10? Well, no, that's clearly not the case. So that triad would be an incorrect classification. So the software iterates through all possible triads here, and there's going to be quite a few of these, even with this small data set. And it simply tallies the number of times that any given triad matches the ordinal prediction here. So that's going to be your percent correct classification. So let's go ahead and run the analysis here. We'll select the complete results. I'll go ahead and turn off the pairwise results. Let's go ahead and get our randomization test and select OK. And it iterates through. And I'll go ahead and just hit enter here a couple of times, just so I can move this up to the center of the screen here. That's all I'm doing. And so again, I'm going to scroll back up here for a moment. There is our expected ordinal pattern. And here we get the classifiable pairs of observations. We've already looked at this. So now we get this new information or output, the classifiable complete observations. So there were 392 of those triads created by the software. And of those, 232 were correctly classified. So that's a PCC of 59.18%. Not a terribly impressive value. Now you'll notice the chance value though is quite low, less than 0.001. This makes some sense because if you randomly shuffle the data, it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be less frequent that you're going to be able to just randomly shuffle the data and come up with a PCC of 59% even, because you've got a more complex pattern here. You've got to get all 3 observations matching that complete ordinal pattern. So this is really a more stringent test of your hypothesis. It tests the entire pattern all at once, whereas with the combined pairwise results, you're looking at pairs of combinations. So experimental 1 versus 2, experimental 1 versus control, and then the control versus experimental 2, and then you're aggregating that all together here. But with the complete results, you're looking at the entire pattern and trying to get those triads to match. So again, it's a more stringent test of your overall hypothesis.